There is a voice within you, a gentle whisper that calls you beyond the limitations of what you see, what you feel, and what your past has convinced you to believe. It is the voice of truth, the voice of divine assurance, urging you today to walk by faith and not by the fleeting tides of emotion. Your emotions will deceive you. One moment they will lift you to the heights of confidence, and the next they will plunge you into the depths of despair. But faith is steady, faith is unshaken. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. If you live according to what you feel in the moment, you will be like a ship tossed by the waves, uncertain, directionless, at the mercy of circumstances. But when you walk by faith, you anchor yourself in a reality greater than appearances. Faith sees beyond the storm, beyond the struggle, beyond the pain. It calls forth that which does not yet exist and makes it real. This is the secret of all transformation, not to be moved by what the eyes behold, but by what the heart knows to be true. Right now you may feel tired, you may feel lost, you may feel like the promises spoken over your life are slipping through your fingers. But do not let your emotions dictate your destiny. Your emotions are a shadow. They shift and change with every passing moment. But the Word of God, the eternal truth, remains firm. What has been spoken over you will come to pass if you refuse to waver, if you refuse to be discouraged, if you hold on to the unseen as though it were already yours. Doubt will come, fear will whisper that you are not enough, anxiety will tell you that time is running out. But these are illusions, tricks of the mind that attempt to make you surrender your inheritance. Do not let temporary feelings make permanent decisions. The unseen world is more real than what you touch and taste and hear. The kingdom of heaven is within you, and it operates by faith, not by sight, not by reason, not by feeling. You must decide today, will you allow fear to rule you, or will you stand firm in faith? Will you allow emotions to drive your actions, or will you trust in the unseen reality that God has already declared over your life? The choice is yours. The power is within you. The moment you choose faith over feeling, you step into the life that was always meant to be yours. There comes a moment when you must decide whether you will trust in the unseen power of God or be led by the fleeting nature of your emotions. Every day you are presented with this choice. Will you believe in what your senses tell you, in what your circumstances declare, or will you stand in faith, unshaken, knowing that what is unseen is far greater than what is seen? Your emotions may rise like a storm, pushing you toward doubt, toward fear, toward uncertainty, but faith is the quiet assurance that beneath the storm, the foundation is unmovable. Faith whispers, "It is already done," even when everything in the physical world seems to contradict it. If you let emotions govern your life, you will always be a prisoner to them. The world teaches you to react to pain, to react to disappointment, to react to the opinions of others. But reaction is a sign of bondage. Faith is freedom. When you walk by faith, you are no longer a servant to external circumstances. You are no longer moved by what is happening around you, for you know that what truly matters is what is happening within you. Faith does not bend to what is seen, it commands the unseen to become seen. Faith does not plead, it declares. Faith does not waver, it knows. Every great manifestation begins with faith. Every answered prayer, every fulfilled dream, every victory over adversity is born in the unseen before it is ever realized in the physical. God is calling you today to rise above what you feel, to step beyond what you see, and to trust in what He has already prepared for you. It is not your emotions that create, it is your faith. Your emotions change from moment to moment, but faith is eternal. The world will try to convince you that what you see is all there is. It will tell you that if something cannot be measured, it is not real. But the truth is, the most powerful forces in existence are unseen. The wind is unseen, yet it moves mountains. Gravity is unseen, yet it holds planets in place. Love is unseen, yet it transforms lives. Faith is unseen, yet it shapes reality. You must decide what will govern you. Will it be the fear that whispers failure into your mind? Will it be the doubt that makes you hesitate? Will it be the sorrow that tells you nothing will ever change? Or will you stand in the certainty that what God has spoken over your life cannot be erased, cannot be undone, cannot be denied? Emotions will tell you to quit. They will tell you it is too hard, that it is taking too long, that maybe you were wrong to believe. But faith says, hold on. Faith says, it is already mine. Faith says, I do not need to see it to know it is done. You were never meant to be ruled by what you feel. Feelings are temporary, but truth is eternal. There is a reality greater than what you can touch, a power greater than what your eyes can perceive. That power is within you, and it is activated by faith. You may not see the way now, but the way exists. You may not see the answer now, but the answer is already given. You may not see the healing now, but the healing is already complete. If you allow your emotions to dictate your actions, you will always be at their mercy. But if you allow faith to guide you, you will walk in the certainty that what is unseen is more real than what is seen. Faith does not wait for proof. It does not ask for signs. It does not beg for evidence. Faith is the proof. Faith is the sign. Faith is the evidence of what is already established in the heavenly realm. When you pray, believe that you have received, and it will be yours. Not that you will receive, but that you have received. The moment you ask, it is done. The moment you believe, it is finished. The delay is only in the natural realm, but in the realm of faith, it is already accomplished. You must walk in that knowing. You must carry yourself as if it is already yours. You must speak as if it is already manifest. You must move as if the promise is already fulfilled. Doubt will come, and it will disguise itself as logic, as reason, as caution. It will try to convince you to wait until you see proof, to hold back until there is visible confirmation. But waiting to believe until you see is not faith. It is sight. Faith sees without the eyes. Faith knows without confirmation. Faith acts as if it is already done. If you allow emotions to dictate your belief, you will live in constant fluctuation, up one day and down the next, hopeful one moment and hopeless the next. But faith is steady. Faith does not waver with the wind. Faith does not bend with the changing tides of feeling. When you face trials, do not allow fear to grip you. Do not allow sorrow to overtake you. Do not allow doubt to rob you of what is already yours. The enemy will use emotions to shake you, to make you question, to make you give up before your breakthrough comes. But if you stand firm, if you refuse to be moved, if you hold on to what God has promised, you will see the manifestation of His word in your life. Your emotions may tell you that nothing is happening, but faith declares that everything is already shifting. Your emotions may tell you that you are alone, but faith knows that God is with you. Your emotions may tell you that you are failing, but faith proclaims that victory is already won. Faith is not about waiting for the right feelings to come. It is about choosing to believe despite the feelings. It is about standing firm when everything around you tells you to surrender. It is about knowing that what is unseen is more powerful than what is seen. When you plant a seed, you do not dig it up every day to check if it is growing. You water it, you nurture it, and you trust that the process is working, even when you see nothing happening. The same is true for faith. You do not need to see evidence immediately. You do not need to feel it instantly. You only need to trust that it is already done. God is speaking to you today. He is calling you higher. He is telling you to let go of the need to feel before you believe. He is telling you to step beyond your emotions and into the realm of faith. The moment you do, everything will change. The moment you decide that you will no longer live according to the instability of emotions, but by the certainty of faith, you will step into the fullness of what has already been prepared for you. The kingdom is yours. The promises are yours. The victory is yours. Walk in it. Believe in it. Live as though it is already done, because in the realm of faith, it is. You are standing at the threshold of two choices. One is to be led by what you feel, the other is to be guided by what you know in faith. Every moment of your life, these two forces pull at you. One whispers fear, the other speaks truth. One creates doubt, the other brings assurance. One is fleeting, changing with the winds of circumstance, while the other remains unmoved, eternal, and absolute. God is calling you today to abandon the instability of emotions and step fully into the power of faith. Your emotions are like waves. They rise and fall, crash and recede. If you live according to them, you will never have stability. One day you will feel strong, the next weak. One moment you will feel blessed, the next abandoned. One moment you will feel confident in your destiny, and the next you will question whether you ever heard God's voice at all. This is the deception of emotions. They appear real in the moment, but they do not reflect truth. Truth does not change because of what you feel. Truth remains constant. The truth is that God's promises are already fulfilled. The truth is that your blessing is already set in place. The truth is that what you have been praying for is already yours. If you are waiting for your emotions to align with faith, you will be waiting forever. Faith is not a feeling, it is a decision. It is a conviction. It is an unshakable knowing that even when nothing around you looks different, something has already shifted in the unseen. Faith is not concerned with how things appear, it is concerned with what is. It does not wait for circumstances to change before believing, it believes, and then circumstances must change. God does not require you to feel ready, He requires you to believe. He does not ask you to wait until fear has left, He asks you to move forward despite it. He does not tell you to act only when the evidence appears, He tells you to act before the evidence arrives. This is the power of faith. It goes ahead of what is seen. It speaks before the manifestation. It walks as though the answer has already been given, because in the realm of the unseen, it has. You cannot allow emotions to dictate your faith. If you do, you will be tossed back and forth, never standing firmly in what God has spoken. Your faith must be anchored, unshaken by what you feel in the moment. If God has spoken a promise over your life, that promise does not disappear just because you have moments of doubt, moments of exhaustion, moments where fear tries to creep in. The promise remains. It is only when you stand firm and refuse to be moved that you will see it manifest in the natural. And many people give up right before their breakthrough because their emotions convince them that nothing is happening. They stop praying because they do not feel God's presence. They stop believing because they do not see change. They stop moving forward because fear tells them they are walking in the wrong direction. But faith does not stop. Faith does not need signs to keep going. Faith walks even when the path is invisible. Faith walks even when the path is invisible. Faith persists even when emotions scream that it is pointless. Faith knows that what is promised is already fulfilled in the unseen, and it is only a matter of time before it becomes visible. Every great miracle begins with faith. The walls of Jericho did not fall because the people saw cracks forming. They fell because the people obeyed in faith. The Red Sea did not part because Moses felt confident. It parted because he acted in faith. The blind did not receive sight because they had evidence that healing was coming. They received sight because they believed before they saw. Faith goes before the miracle. Faith goes before the victory. Faith speaks before the manifestation. If you allow your emotions to control you, you will hesitate when you should be stepping forward. You will doubt when you should be declaring. You will shrink back when you should be pressing in. But if you choose faith, you will move as though the promise is already yours. You will speak as though it is already done. You will live as though heaven has already delivered what you have prayed for. This is the key to walking in divine manifestation. Faith is not dependent on circumstances. Faith is not affected by delay. Faith is not weakened by opposition. It is in the waiting, in the struggle, in the moments when everything looks impossible that faith is tested and proven. Many people say they have faith, but the moment difficulty arises, they fall into fear, into doubt, into discouragement. This is not faith. Faith does not waver. It does not question whether God will come through. It does not wonder if the promise was real. It does not entertain the possibility of failure. Faith says, it is done even before it is seen. God is asking you to trust Him beyond what you feel. Do not let temporary emotions rob you of an eternal promise. Do not let fleeting feelings cause you to abandon what God has already prepared for you. Stand firm. Speak faith. Walk as though you have already received. Act as though the answer is already here. Move forward, even if fear tries to hold you back. Fear has no power where faith is present. Doubt has no authority where belief stands strong. The moment you shift from living by emotions to living by faith, everything will begin to align in ways you never imagined. Right now, you may not see the way forward, but the way exists. Right now, you may not feel strong, but strength is already within you. Right now, you may not understand how things will unfold, but that is not your concern. Your concern is only to believe. Your only responsibility is to walk by faith, to trust in the unseen, to act as though the promise is already fulfilled. When you do this, when you refuse to be moved by anything other than faith, you will step into a life where the miraculous is normal, where the impossible becomes reality, where everything that was once out of reach becomes yours. God is speaking to you today. He is calling you higher, beyond the instability of feelings, beyond the limitations of emotions, into the unshakable realm of faith. The choice is yours. You can continue to live according to what you feel, or you can step fully into faith and watch as everything you have been praying for unfolds before your eyes. The world around you tells you to trust what you see, what you hear, and what you feel, but God calls you to something higher. He calls you to walk by faith, to move with certainty even when your eyes cannot yet perceive what is coming. Every great move of God in history was preceded by faith. Not by feelings, not by sight, not by human understanding, only by faith. Look at Abraham. He was called to leave everything he knew, to step into a land he had never seen, with only God's word as his guide. If he had walked by emotions, he would have remained where he was, bound by comfort and familiarity. But because he walked by faith, he became the father of nations. Look at Noah. He built an ark when there was no sign of rain. Had he allowed emotions to dictate his actions, he would have abandoned the task, ridiculed by the world. But he walked by faith, and because of that, he and his family were saved. Your emotions will always try to deceive you. They will tell you that if you do not feel God, He is not near. They will whisper that if you do not see progress, nothing is happening. But God operates beyond the realm of feeling, beyond the realm of sight. He moves in the unseen. He speaks into existence what has not yet appeared. Your faith is the bridge between the unseen and the seen, between heaven's promise and earthly manifestation. Think about the battles you have fought. How many times have you been tempted to give up because your emotions told you it was over? How many times has discouragement crept in because you did not see evidence of change? But every time you chose faith over emotion, every time you stood firm despite fear, God showed up. He was always working behind the scenes, even when you could not perceive it. Faith demands that you act before you see. When Peter stepped out of the boat, the water had not yet hardened beneath his feet. It was his movement, his faith, that activated the miracle. Had he waited for the water to first become solid, he never would have stepped out. And yet, the moment he shifted his focus from faith to emotion, the moment he allowed fear to dictate his belief, he began to sink. This is the battle you face every day. Will you step out in faith, or will you allow emotions to pull you under? Your breakthrough is already prepared, but you must walk toward it. God will not place the manifestation in your hands while you remain still in fear, doubt, or hesitation. He calls you forward, not backward. He calls you to move before you see the answer. Faith is action. It is not passive waiting. It is movement based on trust in God's word, not in the evidence of your circumstances. There is power in declaring what is unseen as though it already exists. When you align your words with faith, you shift reality. When you speak in alignment with the promise rather than the problem, you unlock doors that were once shut. Every word you speak carries creative power. The moment you say, "It is done," with unwavering belief, heaven moves. But if you speak words of doubt, if you allow emotions to control your tongue, you block the very breakthrough you have been praying for. Do not wait until you feel ready to take the next step. If you wait for fear to disappear, you will never move. If you wait for every condition to be perfect, you will never start. Faith does not require comfort, it requires obedience. The greatest moves of God happen when people step forward despite uncertainty, despite fear, despite every emotion screaming at them to stop. Your emotions are temporary, but faith is eternal. Feelings change with the seasons, but faith remains unmoved. The world teaches you to trust in your emotions, to follow your heart. But the heart, when led by feelings alone, can be deceptive. One moment it is filled with joy, the next with sorrow. One day it is full of confidence, the next full of fear. This is why God tells you not to lean on your own understanding, but to trust in Him completely. Every time you choose faith over emotions, you are declaring that God's truth is greater than temporary feelings. You are testifying that His promises are more real than what you see in the natural. And when you stand in that level of faith, nothing can shake you. No setback can discourage you. No delay can weaken your trust. No opposition can make you doubt. Right now, there may be things in your life that do not look the way you expected. Maybe you have been believing for something and the evidence has not yet appeared. Maybe emotions of fear, frustration, or impatience are trying to consume you. But this is the moment where faith must rise above feeling. This is where you declare, God's word is true, regardless of what I see. This is where you walk forward with confidence, knowing that heaven has already answered, even if earth has not yet revealed it. God is calling you to trust in Him, not in the shifting tides of emotions. He is asking you to stand firm when everything around you tries to shake your belief. He is reminding you that He is faithful, that His word does not return void, that He has already gone before you and prepared the way. The question is, will you walk by faith or be led by emotions? Will you choose trust over fear? Will you move as though the promise is already fulfilled? The answer is already waiting. The breakthrough is already set. The only thing left is for you to step into it. Walk by faith. Move without hesitation. Speak as though it is done. Act as though it is finished. Because in God's reality, it already is. There is a version of you that already exists in the fullness of God's promise. There is a future where the prayers you have whispered in secret have already been answered, where the desires of your heart have already been fulfilled. That version of you is not waiting for proof, not waiting for emotions to confirm that God's word is true. That version of you has stepped fully into faith, walking in the knowing that what God has spoken cannot fail. You are being called to that version of yourself today. The you that does not waver when circumstances look impossible. The you that does not retreat when fear arises. The you that stands firmly on the promise and does not let emotions dictate belief. Because emotions are fleeting, but faith is eternal. Emotions will deceive you, but faith will anchor you. Emotions will tell you to give up when things get hard, but faith will remind you that God is faithful, that He cannot lie, that His word is already accomplished in the unseen. What if you lived as if your prayers were already answered? What if you spoke, moved, and made decisions as if everything you have been waiting for was already yours? Because in the eyes of God it is. In the kingdom of heaven, time does not exist as it does on earth. What you see as a delay is already completed in His perfect plan. What feels like waiting is merely alignment, preparation for the moment when faith and manifestation meet. If you could see what God sees, you would never doubt again. If you could glimpse the way every moment is being woven together for your good, you would never question His timing. If you could hear the echoes of His promises already fulfilled, you would never walk in fear. But because you cannot yet see it, he asks you to trust him. Because you cannot yet touch it, he asks you to believe. That is what faith is. It is knowing without needing to see. It is walking forward even when the path ahead is still covered in shadow. It is standing in confidence even when emotions tell you otherwise. Every single time you choose faith, you shift reality. The moment you decide to act in alignment with God's promises, the moment you stop letting emotions dictate your movement, you step into divine alignment. That is when things begin to move. That is when doors begin to open. That is when heaven meets earth, and what was once unseen becomes visible. But as long as you allow emotions to rule over faith, you delay the promise. As long as you wait for feelings to confirm what God has already spoken, you postpone the very thing you desire. Imagine if the heroes of faith had allowed emotions to control them. If David had listened to fear, he never would have faced Goliath. If Moses had let doubt consume him, he never would have parted the Red Sea. If Esther had allowed uncertainty to dictate her actions, she never would have saved her people. None of them waited for emotions to feel right before they moved. None of them waited for confirmation from the natural world before stepping into their calling. They simply believed. They walked in faith, not by sight, not by feeling, and because of that, they saw miracles. This is the truth God is speaking into your life right now. You are standing on the edge of something greater than you can imagine. You are closer than you think. Everything you have prayed for is already in motion, but the question remains, will you walk by faith, or will you let emotions keep you stuck? Will you trust that God is working even when you cannot see it? Will you take the next step even if fear whispers that you shouldn't? Will you declare His promises over your life even when emotions try to convince you otherwise? The answer to every prayer, the fulfillment of every promise, the reality of every dream you have carried in your heart is already written in the unseen. The only thing left is for you to step into it. Not by emotion, not by fear, not by waiting for the perfect moment, but by faith. Faith that moves without hesitation. Faith that speaks life even when circumstances look lifeless. Faith that refuses to be shaken by what the natural world says is possible. Faith that knows God has already made a way. This is your moment to decide, to rise above feelings, to move beyond doubt, to walk as though it is already done, because in the kingdom of God it is. Walk by faith and watch how everything aligns exactly as it was always meant to be. There is a version of you that has already stepped into the promise, already living in the reality of God's word. That version of you has moved beyond doubt, beyond hesitation, beyond the limitations of emotion. That version of you understands that faith is not a feeling, but a knowing. Faith is not a reaction, but a choice. Faith is not about what appears to be true. It is about what God has declared to be true. God waits. When you grasp this truth, nothing can shake you. No storm, no setback, no delay will have the power to move you, because you will have rooted yourself in the eternal, the unseen, the divine. There is a difference between moving by sight and moving by faith. When you walk by sight, you are a servant to circumstance. You are controlled by what you see, hear, and feel. If things look good, you feel good. If things seem uncertain, you feel afraid. If you face resistance, you assume it is a sign to stop. But faith does not function this way. Faith walks forward regardless of how things appear. Faith understands that God is at work behind the scenes, even when the natural world suggests otherwise. Faith does not need confirmation from emotions to act. It simply believes, and because it believes, it receives. Every time you allow emotions to dictate your actions, you surrender your authority. God has given you dominion, yet many live as if they are powerless, as if they are at the mercy of whatever life throws their way. This is not how you were meant to live. You were designed to walk in faith, to declare things that are not yet seen as though they already exist, to move as though the answer has already arrived. This is the way of the Spirit. This is the way of divine manifestation. Think about the times you let emotions pull you away from what God was calling you toward. The moments when fear whispered that you were not enough. The moments when doubt told you to turn back. The moments when sadness convinced you that nothing would change. Yet, if you look deeper, you will realize that emotions have no real power unless you give it to them. Emotions are temporary, but the truth of God is eternal. And if you live your life based on what is temporary, you will never reach what is eternal. God is calling you to walk in a higher reality, to see beyond what is in front of you, to trust beyond what you feel. There is a supernatural order to life that only faith can access. There is an unseen realm where all things are already complete. The moment you align your thoughts, your actions, and your words with that reality, it begins to unfold in the natural world. But if you wait for emotions to agree, you will stay in delay. If you wait for everything to feel right, you will remain in waiting. Faith does not wait for proof. Faith moves and then proof appears. Faith does not seek reassurance. Faith is the reassurance. This is the great secret that so many fail to grasp. You do not need to beg, plead, or wonder if God will do what He said. You only need to step into it, to act as if it is already yours. And as you do, the world around you will begin to shift. Circumstances will rearrange themselves. People will be drawn into your life to assist you. Doors that seemed permanently closed will suddenly open, not because you forced it, but because faith always produces after its own kind. Faith creates. Faith calls forth. Faith transforms. Every time you let emotions dictate your response, you are choosing the lesser path. You are choosing delay. You are choosing limitation. But the moment you take authority, the moment you say, I will walk by faith, not by feelings, you step into a realm where anything is possible. Mountains move for those who believe. Obstacles dissolve for those who refuse to give in to doubt. Miracles unfold for those who are bold enough to act as though they have already received. God has placed something inside you that is greater than anything the world can throw at you. But if you continue to allow emotions to govern your decisions, you will never tap into that power. You must rise above. You must choose faith over fear, trust over doubt, certainty over hesitation. When you do, you will begin to see that the life God has for you has been waiting all along. It is not distant. It is not someday. It is now. But only faith can unlock it. Only faith can bring it forth. Only faith can make it real. The time is now, the moment is now. Step forward, not with emotion, not with hesitation, but with faith. Faith that knows, faith that claims, faith that refuses to be denied. Everything you desire, everything you have prayed for, everything God has spoken over your life is already waiting for you to receive it. The only question left is, will you walk by faith? Will you trust even when emotions try to pull you back? Will you declare God's promise even when circumstances seem to suggest otherwise? Will you take the next step even when you cannot see the full path ahead? If you do, you will witness the impossible becoming possible. You will see the unseen take form. You will experience the power of God working in ways beyond your comprehension. Because faith is the key. Faith is the bridge. Faith is the force that turns visions into reality. Walk in it, live in it, breathe in it, and watch as everything you have believed for comes to life before your eyes. Faith is the unseen foundation upon which all things rest. It is the invisible force that calls forth the reality you desire, the divine energy that shapes the unseen into the seen. When you move by faith, you align yourself with the eternal law of God, a law that does not waver, does not fail, and does not depend on how you feel in any given moment. Faith is not tied to your emotions. It is rooted in the certainty of God's promises. It does not shift with the wind or crumble under pressure. It stands firm, unwavering, unshaken. Look at the great examples of faith in Scripture. Those who walked in the fullness of God's promise were not those who allowed emotions to dictate their decisions, but those who stood firm in belief. even when everything in the natural world suggested otherwise. Abraham was called to be the father of many nations, yet for years he saw no evidence of the promise. Had he walked by sight, he would have given up. Had he walked by emotions, he would have succumbed to doubt. But he chose faith, and because of that faith, the promise was fulfilled. Your emotions will tell you that what you desire is too far away, that the obstacles are too great, that you are not strong enough, not worthy enough, not capable enough. Your emotions will make you feel like the waiting is too long, the struggle too intense, the path too unclear. But emotions are not truth. They are fleeting. They change from moment to moment, day to day. They rise and fall like the waves of the sea, unstable, unreliable. If you allow them to control you, you will live a life of inconsistency, never planting yourself firmly in the reality of God's word. Faith, however, is the rock upon which you must stand. It does not fluctuate. It does not depend on external validation. It does not require proof before it believes. Faith believes first, and then the proof follows. This is the divine order. This is the secret that separates those who manifest their promises from those who live in continual frustration. When you understand that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, you will no longer look to circumstances for confirmation. You will no longer need emotions to reassure you. You will simply know. There is a version of you right now living in the fullness of faith. A version of you that does not second guess, does not hesitate, does not waver between belief and doubt. That version of you already possesses what you seek, already walks in the manifestation of God's promises. And the only thing that separates you from that reality is your willingness to step into it. Is your willingness to step into it? The moment you decide that faith is your foundation, the moment you choose to move as if the promise is already fulfilled, the world around you will begin to shift. Your words hold creative power. What you speak, you bring into existence. Yet many allow their emotions to dictate their words, speaking doubt, fear, and lack into their reality. They say, "I don't see a way," and so no way appears. They say, "Nothing is changing," and so nothing changes. They say, "I feel stuck," and so they remain stuck. But those who walk by faith speak differently. They declare the unseen as if it is already here. They say, "Doors are opening for me, even when the doors appear closed." They say, "God is making a way, even when no way is visible." They say, "I am blessed," even before the blessing has fully arrived. Faith does not require you to understand every detail. It does not ask for explanations or guarantees. It only asks that you trust. Trust that God's timing is perfect. Trust that what you seek is already seeking you. Trust that the delays are not denials, but divine preparation. When you begin to live in this state of trust, you will no longer be swayed by emotions. You will no longer look at circumstances with doubt. You will no longer wait for things to feel right before you move. You will move because you know. You will act because you believe. Think about the times when you allowed fear to stop you, when you let uncertainty delay you, when you waited for a sign instead of stepping forward in faith. Every time you hesitated, you placed your trust in emotion rather than in God. But today, you have the opportunity to choose differently. You have the chance to break free from the cycle of hesitation and step boldly into the reality that has been waiting for you all along. God is not asking you to rely on what you see. He is not asking you to depend on what you feel. He is calling you to step into what He has already prepared for you. The moment you decide to walk by faith and not by emotion, you will begin to see the supernatural unfold in your life. The mountains that once seemed immovable will shift. The doors that seemed locked will open. The opportunities you thought were lost will return, not because you forced them to happen, but because faith has the power to bring the unseen into reality. Everything you desire is already done in the spiritual realm. The question is not whether it exists. The question is whether you will step into it. Will you allow your emotions to keep you bound, or will you rise above them and claim what is already yours? Will you continue to live as if the promise is far away, or will you declare that it is already here? Faith does not wait. Faith does not doubt. Faith does not question. Faith believes, acts, and receives. The choice is yours. You can live according to what you see, or you can live according to what God has spoken. You can be led by feelings, or you can be led by faith. But understand this: only one of these paths leads to the fulfillment of your destiny. Only one of these paths will bring you into alignment with God's perfect plan. Choose faith, walk in faith, live by faith, and watch as the impossible becomes possible before your very eyes. The path of faith is not always easy, but it is always right. When you choose to walk by faith and not by emotions, you step into the divine flow of God's promises. You no longer wait for circumstances to confirm what you already know in your spirit. You no longer allow temporary feelings to dictate eternal truths. Instead, you rise above doubt, above fear, above hesitation, and you move forward with unwavering trust in God's perfect plan. Today you have a choice. You can continue allowing emotions to lead you, keeping you in a cycle of uncertainty and delay, or you can step boldly into the life that faith has already secured for you. The moment you choose faith over feelings, you activate the power of God in your life. The doors begin to open, the way becomes clear, and the promises manifest, not because you forced them, but because you believe them into being. So walk forward, not as someone waiting for a sign, but as someone who already knows the outcome. Walk forward with confidence, knowing that God has already prepared the way. Speak as if it is done, act as if you have already received it, trust as if there is no other option, for when you live by faith, you will see miracles unfold before your very eyes. When life becomes heavy with worries, it's easy to forget that there is a higher power that stands ready to take on the burdens we carry. You are not meant to carry them alone. The key to peace lies in recognizing this truth. Give it to God. Surrender your concerns to the divine, and free your mind from the overwhelming weight of fear and uncertainty. We often find ourselves consumed by the thoughts of what could go wrong, what we have yet to fix, or how things may unfold. But in doing so, we create our own prison. The act of worrying only serves to reinforce the illusion that we are in control. The truth is, you are not in control of everything, and that is a blessing. Control can bind you, but surrendering can free you. You are a creation of divine purpose, and the source of all things is within you. When you align with this truth, you understand that you don't have to do it all by yourself. You can release the anxiety and trust in divine timing, knowing that every step is guided by a higher intelligence. It is through trust, through giving your worries to God, that you step into a space of complete peace. Think of the countless moments when you worried and the outcome still arrived in ways you could not have imagined. Do you not see that these moments are proof of the divine intelligence that guides you, even in your uncertainty? When you choose to trust in God, you stop resisting the flow of life. And that's when the true miracles happen. The mind is powerful, and it creates realities based on what it holds on to. But when you let go of the worries, when you release the desire to control outcomes, your mind becomes clear and open to inspiration, to solutions, to divine intervention. The more you give it to God, the more you make room for divine creativity to work in your life. You open the door to peace, to guidance, to clarity. The universe listens to the energy you project. When you carry worry, you create more of it. But when you surrender and trust, you begin to attract solutions, opportunities, and the things you need to bring about the life you desire. You stop fighting against the flow and instead allow it to carry you where you are meant to go. This is not a passive act, it is an active choice to trust. It is the choice to shift your perspective from fear to faith. Faith in the divine order, faith in your inherent worth, faith in the path that is unfolding before you, even when you cannot see it clearly. Release your grip on the outcome. Let it go. Allow God to handle what you cannot. In this act of surrender, you will find freedom. Your mind will be free of the weight of worry, and you will begin to see life unfolding in ways you could never have planned. You are not alone in this journey. God is with you. Each worry that you release becomes a step closer to peace, a step closer to understanding that everything is working out for your good. Trust in the process, trust in the divine intelligence, and give it to God. The moment you let go, you are met with the freedom and peace you have been seeking all along. As you continue to walk through life, it's easy to find yourself trapped in cycles of uncertainty, overwhelmed by the demands of the world around you. The pressures of work, family, health, and all the things we feel responsible for can easily weigh us down. We begin to question every decision, every action, and every possibility. What if it's too late? What if I don't have what it takes? What if these questions, though natural, can lead you into a state of constant worry, robbing you of your peace and the clarity you need to move forward? But here's the reality: none of this worry serves you. Worrying does not change your circumstances, nor does it make you stronger. In fact, it weakens your ability to handle challenges because it clouds your mind and heart. But there is another way, a way that doesn't involve carrying all of this on your own shoulders. You were never meant to. You were never meant to be burdened by every challenge that comes your way. Life is not a test of your endurance alone, but a journey to discover that you are part of something much greater than yourself. There is a divine plan, a cosmic order, and a force greater than any worry or obstacle that you could ever face. That force, that divine intelligence, is always there, ready to guide you, protect you, and support you. And you are invited to trust it. When you choose to surrender your worries to God, you open yourself to the full power of the divine. You recognize that the weight you feel is not yours to carry alone. You are a co-creator in this world, but there is a force that is working on your behalf, orchestrating the outcomes in ways that you may not understand in the moment. Your mind, clouded by worry, cannot always see the bigger picture. But when you allow yourself to release the burden, to trust the process, you align yourself with that higher intelligence. You allow the divine to lead, and you step into a space of peace, knowing that what is meant for you will find its way. It's important to understand that giving it to God doesn't mean sitting idly by. It doesn't mean that you give up on your goals or stop taking action in your life. It simply means that you stop carrying the weight of every possible outcome. You let go of the need to control every detail, and instead you begin to act with faith. You take inspired action, you do your part, but you trust that the outcome is already decided. The divine already knows the way, and it is always leading you to your highest good. Imagine for a moment that you could release the need to control everything. Imagine that instead of worrying about all the things that might go wrong, you could trust that things are going to work out exactly as they should. The peace that would come from this shift would be unparalleled. No more sleepless nights, no more anxiety-filled days, no more second-guessing your decisions. You are free to live fully, free to love more deeply, free to follow the guidance that comes to you. When you stop worrying, you allow the energy of peace to enter your life, and with it the clarity to make better decisions and the strength to face whatever challenges may arise. Worrying is a form of resistance. It is your mind fighting against what is. But the truth is, everything is happening exactly as it is meant to. The universe is unfolding in divine timing, and your life is a part of that perfect design. Even the difficulties, the struggles, and the obstacles have a purpose. They are not there to punish you, but to shape you, to guide you toward your higher self. Every challenge is an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to trust in a power greater than yourself. But if you hold on tightly to worry, you block the flow of divine energy. You cannot receive the answers, the solutions, or the blessings that are waiting for you. You cannot hear the whispers of guidance when you are constantly wrapped up in fear. This is why letting go of worry is so powerful. When you give it to God, you open up space for divine wisdom to flow through you. You allow inspiration to come into your heart, and you create the conditions for miracles to manifest in your life. Imagine the possibilities when you stop worrying about how things will unfold and instead focus on doing what is in your power with faith. You do not need to have every step of the plan figured out. You only need to trust that the path will be shown to you when you are ready. It's important to understand that you are not powerless in this process. Giving it to God is not a passive act. It is an active choice to trust. It is a choice to surrender the need to control, to accept that some things are beyond your understanding, and to have faith that everything is unfolding in divine order. It is through this trust that you become empowered. You align with the divine flow, and in doing so you are guided to the right actions at the right time. It is a good thing to go unguided to the right actions at the right time. It's not just your life begins to take on a new momentum, one that is fueled by faith rather than fear. And let's not forget the power of prayer. Prayer is not just a request, it is a conversation with the divine. It is a moment of connecting with the higher power within you, and it is an opportunity to release all of your burdens. When you pray, you are not simply asking for help, you are affirming that you trust in divine intervention. You are acknowledging that you do not have to do it alone. You are inviting the divine to take over, to guide you, to protect you, and to show you the way. And at the same time, the divine is protecting and to show you the way. Prayer is an act of surrender, an act of allowing. And in that act of surrender, you create the space for miracles to happen. As you let go of your worries, you begin to shift your focus. You no longer focus on what might go wrong, but on what you are creating. You begin to trust in your own power, in the divine force within you, and in the support that is always available to you. You begin to see that you are not at the mercy of your circumstances, but that you are co-creating your reality with a higher power. The divine is always with you, guiding you, supporting you, and helping you navigate the challenges of life. This is the power of surrender. It is not weakness, but strength. It is the strength to trust in something greater than yourself. It is the courage to let go of the need to control, and the faith to believe that all things are working together for your good. When you give it to God, you free your mind from the burden of worry, and you make room for divine guidance to lead you to where you are meant to go. The path ahead of you is not always clear, and sometimes it may feel uncertain, but in those moments, remember that the divine is guiding you. Trust in the process, trust in yourself, and trust that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. When you release the worries and fears, you free your mind to see the opportunities before you and to take inspired action toward your dreams. You no longer need to be overwhelmed by the unknown. You can trust that the answers will come, the solutions will arise, and the blessings will unfold. You are never alone in this journey. The divine is with you every step of the way. As you walk through the unfolding journey of life, you will undoubtedly encounter moments of doubt, fear, and uncertainty. These are not signs of weakness, nor are they evidence of failure. Rather, they are a part of the human experience, an opportunity to discover a deeper, more trusting connection with the divine. These moments are not meant to break you, but to remind you that there is something greater than yourself at play. And in those moments, when the weight of your worries feels unbearable, you are given a choice to hold on tightly or to release and trust. Consider for a moment the immense power you possess when you choose to trust. Trust is not something that can be seen with the physical eyes. It is a knowing that transcends logic and reason. It is a quiet certainty in the heart that all is well, even when external circumstances suggest otherwise. Trust is the language of the soul. It is a surrender to the understanding that not every step of the journey needs to be understood right now. When you begin to truly give it to God, you are tapping into this profound trust. You are saying, I do not need to have control over everything. I surrender my worries and my anxieties to a higher power, knowing that I am held, supported, and guided in every moment. You are giving yourself permission to stop fighting against the flow of life. Instead of pushing, resisting, and trying to manage every detail, you allow the divine to step in and work its magic. The moment you release your grip on the need to control, you open the door to receiving the gifts that are already waiting for you. It is important to recognize that this release is not a sign of giving up. Far from it. Giving it to God is an act of profound faith. It is a declaration that you believe in the unseen, in a force greater than your own limited understanding. When you trust in the divine order, you stop making decisions based on fear and anxiety. You stop letting the weight of your worries dictate your actions, and instead you begin to move forward with a calm assurance that you are walking the path that is meant for you. This act of surrender does not mean inaction. It is not about sitting back and waiting for life to happen to you. No, it is about allowing yourself to be guided, to be open to inspiration, and to take the necessary steps with confidence. The divine will never leave you stagnant, but as you stop worrying, as you let go of your need to control every outcome, you will find that the right actions present themselves to you. You will be guided to the next step with a quiet clarity, free from the noise of doubt and fear. Life has a way of showing you that your worries are often misplaced. When you look back on the times when you were consumed by anxiety, can you not see how often things turned out differently than you had imagined? The moments of greatest growth often come from those experiences where you had no idea how things would unfold, but when they did, they unfolded perfectly. This is the proof of the divine hand at work in your life. It is the evidence that there is a plan, even when you cannot see it in the moment. The more you surrender, the more you begin to see this divine order at work. You begin to understand that worrying serves no purpose other than to keep you trapped in the illusion of control. Your worries are a distraction from the present moment, and the present moment is all that exists. In the now you can experience peace. In the now you can experience joy. But when you are lost in the what-ifs of the future or the should-haves of the past, you miss the beauty that is right in front of you. And the mystery of life, which is the should-haves of the past, is greater than the mystery of life, which is the should-haves of the past. You miss the beauty that is right in front of you. Every moment that you spend worrying is a moment that you are taking away from your own peace. You begin to feel the weight lifting off your shoulders, and you can finally see that you are not alone in this journey. You are supported, you are loved, and you are never without guidance. One of the most beautiful things about surrendering your worries to God is that it allows you to align with your true nature. Your true nature is one of peace, of love, and of trust. When you live in alignment with your true self, you step into the fullness of your potential. You stop allowing external circumstances to define you. Instead, you become a vessel for divine love and light, radiating that energy outward into the world. Think about it. When you are at peace, you are a magnet for all that you desire. When you stop worrying about how things will unfold, you open up to the infinite possibilities of life. The divine will guide you to the right opportunities, the right people, and the right circumstances. But when you are bogged down by worry, you cannot hear the whispers of guidance. You cannot see the signs that are right in front of you. You are too distracted by your fears to notice the blessings that are already making their way to you. This is why it is so important to give it to God. When you release your worries, you allow yourself to be in tune with the rhythm of the universe. You stop resisting the flow of life, and instead you begin to flow with it. You trust that everything is unfolding exactly as it should, and you allow yourself to be guided every step of the way. You may not always understand why things are happening the way they are, but you trust that there is a reason, a purpose, and a divine plan behind it all. In the moments when you feel the urge to worry, remind yourself that you are not in this alone. You are part of something much bigger than yourself. You are supported by the divine, and you are guided by the infinite wisdom of the universe. When you give it to God, you are acknowledging that you are not in control, but that you are part of a larger, more beautiful plan that is unfolding exactly as it should. You can release the burden of worry and embrace the peace that comes with trust. When you allow yourself to trust in the divine, you stop trying to force things to happen. Instead, you begin to act with inspired intention. You begin to take steps in alignment with your higher purpose, knowing that each action is guided by a force greater than your own understanding. You begin to live with an open heart and an open mind, ready to receive the blessings that are waiting for you. You trust that the right opportunities will come to you and that everything you need will be provided. The power of surrender lies in the freedom it brings. When you let go of your worries, you free yourself from the chains that hold you captive. You no longer need to fight against the current of life. Instead, you begin to flow with it, trusting that the divine is leading you exactly where you need to go. You are no longer bogged down by the need to control every aspect of your life. You are free to live, to love, and to experience the world in its fullness. The practice of giving it to God is not a one-time act. It is a continual choice that you make every day. Each time you feel the weight of worry pressing down on you, you can choose to release it. You can choose to trust in the divine, knowing that you are held in the embrace of something greater. Every time you let go, you step into a space of greater peace, greater clarity, and greater possibility. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes to trust, to release, and to live in the flow of divine guidance. So remember this: you are never alone. You do not have to carry the weight of worry on your own. Give it to God and free your mind from the endless cycle of fear and doubt. Trust in the divine and allow yourself to be led to the life that is waiting for you. Every worry that you let go of is a step closer to the peace that you seek. You are not alone in this journey. The divine is always with you, guiding you, supporting you, and showing you the way. When you look at the world around you, there's a consistent rhythm that pulses through everything, through nature, through the changing seasons, and through the cycles of the universe. This rhythm is perfect, and it is governed by laws that operate independently of human understanding. Just like the earth rotates around the sun without interruption, or the tides rise and fall in perfect harmony, there is an underlying divine order to your life. This is where you must place your trust, for within this cosmic flow lies the answer to your deepest questions and worries. Each time you experience worry, it's a sign that you've stepped away from this natural order. Worry is the human mind trying to control what is beyond its control. It's the ego's attempt to hold on to something that can't be held on to. Yet worry doesn't bring peace or resolution. It only serves to create turmoil within. But peace comes from surrender, from the acknowledgement that you are not alone in your struggles, and that the divine is always present, gently guiding you, even when you can't see it. As you give it to God, you are allowing yourself to flow back into alignment with the natural order. You are not abandoning responsibility, nor are you avoiding action. On the contrary, you are acknowledging that there is wisdom in the unknown, that there is purpose even in uncertainty. When you trust in the divine plan, you trust that your actions will align with that greater purpose, and that you will be guided to the next step in your journey, even when it is not immediately clear. Consider the nature of a seed. It is planted in the earth, surrounded by darkness, and it appears as if it is doing nothing. But under the surface, something is happening. It is being nourished, cultivated, and prepared for growth. In time, when the conditions are right, the seed sprouts and begins to grow toward the light. The seed has no control over the process. It must trust the earth, the water, the air, and the sun, knowing that these forces will work together to bring it to life. Your life operates in much the same way. When you surrender your worries to the divine, you are like that seed. You may not always see the progress that is being made behind the scenes, but know that things are always working in your favor. When you are not constantly trying to manage every detail, you give yourself the space to grow, to evolve, and to unfold into the person you are meant to be. Worry can only arise when the ego believes that it has the power to control outcomes. It comes from the belief that if you don't intervene, something will go wrong. But this belief is rooted in fear, not truth. The truth is that you are a part of a divine design, and everything is unfolding according to that design. When you give it to God, you release the illusion of control and acknowledge that the divine is the ultimate architect of your life. And just as the seed trusts the earth to nourish it, you must trust the divine to nourish and guide you through every step of your journey. The key to understanding the power of surrender is realizing that it is not a passive act. Surrendering your worries does not mean giving up on life, nor does it mean being passive in the face of challenges. It simply means choosing to step out of the way of the divine flow, allowing it to guide your actions and responses. It means choosing trust over doubt, faith over fear. It means acknowledging that while you may not have control over every circumstance, you have the power to choose your attitude and your response. And in this choice, you unlock your inner strength. This inner strength is cultivated when you allow yourself to rest in the knowledge that all is as it should be. Yes, there will be moments of difficulty, but they are not signs of failure. They are invitations for growth, opportunities for your spiritual and personal development. Each challenge is an opportunity for you to choose how you respond. When you surrender your worries, you create the mental and emotional space to receive the divine guidance that is always available to you. Think of the way you would treat a dear friend who is in need. If they were troubled by worries, you would reassure them that they are not alone, that they are supported and loved, and that everything will work out in the end. You would encourage them to trust in the process and to have faith that they will make it through. Now, extend that same compassion to yourself. Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer to others. You are worthy of that compassion, worthy of trusting that the divine is working in your favor. You are not alone in your struggles, and you do not need to carry the burden of worry. When you decide to give it to God, you are choosing peace over chaos, trust over fear, and love over worry. You are allowing the divine to take the reins, trusting that you are being led to exactly where you need to be, even if you cannot yet see the path clearly. This act of surrender frees you from the weight of expectations, from the pressures of trying to control every aspect of your life. It seems you have no choice but to accept that you are now in the arms of the greatest wish of your life, which is your correct path, which I've called the choice of. You stop trying to force things to happen, and instead you allow them to unfold naturally, in their own time. This doesn't mean that you stop taking action. On the contrary, when you give it to God, you open yourself to inspired action. You allow yourself to be guided by intuition, by the whispers of the divine, and by the wisdom that comes from within. Instead of reacting out of fear or anxiety, you begin to act with clarity, with purpose, and with confidence. When you stop worrying about how things will turn out, you free your mind to focus on what you can do in the present moment to align with your highest good. There is a power in the present moment that is often overlooked. We spend so much of our time worrying about the future or regretting the past that we forget that the only moment that truly matters is now. When you give it to God, you return to the present moment. You stop living in the past or the future, and you begin to experience life as it is in its fullness. The future will unfold on its own, and the past is already gone. All that you have is the present moment, and it is in this moment that you can choose to trust. When you give it to God, you align yourself with the flow of life. You let go of the resistance that comes from trying to control every aspect of your existence. You surrender the worry, the fear, the doubt, and the anxiety, and you replace them with trust, faith, and peace. This is not a passive act, but an active decision to choose the divine over the ego, peace over worry, and love over fear. And this act of surrender, you open yourself up to the blessings that are already on their way to you. You allow yourself to experience life as it was meant to be experienced, free from the chains of worry, free from the need to control, and free to trust in the divine timing of your journey. When you make the decision to stop worrying, it's important to recognize that this is not merely about pushing aside your fears and anxieties for a moment of relief. It is not simply putting them under the surface for a later time when they may resurface again. Giving your worries to God is not a temporary escape. It is a deep, transformative surrender. It's allowing the divine presence to permeate every part of you, guiding your thoughts, emotions, and actions. When you trust the process, you are placing yourself in the hands of a force far greater than any individual struggle you may face. This trust does not imply inaction. It does not mean that you sit idly by while the world moves around you. It means you act with faith, guided by a higher wisdom that knows what's best for you, even when you cannot see it yourself. When you release your worries, you begin to see more clearly. You allow yourself to move freely through life, no longer weighed down by the fear of what may or may not happen. The divine will always guide you, but only if you let go of the belief that you must control everything. You let go of the anxiety about potential outcomes, the fear of failure, and the constant wondering if you are doing enough. And instead you act with the confidence that comes from knowing that what is meant for you is already on its way. At times you may not even fully understand the reason for a challenge or a setback. You may find yourself questioning the timing of things, wondering why certain things have not yet materialized. But it is precisely in these moments that you must trust more deeply than ever before. You cannot see the entire picture, but the divine sees all. The delays, the setbacks, the seemingly unanswered prayers, they are all part of a greater plan that you cannot fully comprehend from your current vantage point. When you stop worrying, you stop fighting the natural course of events. You let go of the resistance that only serves to prolong the journey, and you allow things to unfold as they should. Think of a river flowing endlessly toward the ocean. It does not resist the current, nor does it question the path it must take. It simply moves, trusting in the direction it is being guided. Even when there are rocks or obstacles in the way, the river does not fight against them. Instead, it flows around them, finding its way toward the ocean. You are that river. Your worries are like rocks placed in your path, but when you trust the flow of the divine current, you can navigate any obstacle with ease. You may not know how things will work out, but you can be sure that they will, and when they do, you will be exactly where you are meant to be. Each worry you let go of is like a stone you place down, and as you do, you begin to feel the weight of those burdens lifting. You can breathe easier, think clearer, and move forward with a renewed sense of purpose. Worry clouds your mind and makes it harder to take clear, inspired action. But when you stop worrying and give it to God, you free your mind to receive divine guidance. You begin to operate not from a place of fear and scarcity, but from a place of peace and abundance. You are no longer trying to force things into being, but rather you are allowing them to manifest in their own time and in the perfect way. And it's important to remember that giving it to God is not about passively waiting for something to happen, but about taking proactive steps in the direction of your desires, with the knowledge that the divine will align everything for you. You act as if you already have everything you need because you know that the universe will provide. This is not a denial of the reality of your circumstances, but rather an acceptance that there is a higher power at work, one that is infinitely more capable than your limited understanding. When you give it to God, you surrender your limited view of what is possible and open yourself to the limitless potential that lies within the divine. You do not need to worry about how things will unfold. That is not your job. Your job is to trust, to believe, and to align your thoughts and actions with the truth of who you are. You are a divine creation, and as such you have the power to co-create your reality with the divine, but this requires you to trust in the process. It requires you to believe that everything you need will come to you in perfect timing. Worry only creates resistance. It holds you back from stepping into the full power of your potential. When you surrender your worries, you are making a conscious decision to stop living in the realm of what if, and to instead live in the realm of what is. You stop projecting your fears and anxieties onto the future and start embracing the present moment. The present is all that you truly have, and it is in this moment that the divine is acting in your life. Your mind cannot hold on to two things at once. It cannot hold on to the fear of what might happen and also receive the divine guidance that is here for you now. So when you let go of your worries, you make room for divine wisdom to enter. This does not mean you become passive or resigned to whatever happens. Far from it. It means that you take action from a place of clarity and alignment, knowing that your efforts are in harmony with the divine will. It means acting with courage, knowing that you are supported in all that you do. And it means trusting that the results will unfold in a way that serves your highest good, even when it doesn't look like what you expected. The universe does not always operate in the ways you think it will, but it always operates in the ways that are best for you, even if it doesn't make sense in the moment. You do not have to figure it all out. You do not need to know the how or the when or the why. When you stop worrying, you stop overthinking and second-guessing every decision. You allow the divine to guide you, and you trust that the next step will always be revealed. Your job is simply to be present, to take the next right action, and to trust that everything is working out for your good. In this surrender, you find your true strength, the strength that comes from knowing that you are not alone, that you are never without guidance, and that every moment is an opportunity for you to grow and evolve. Worry steals that strength. It makes you believe that you are small, weak, and powerless. But the truth is that you are strong beyond measure, capable of handling any challenge that comes your way, and supported by a divine presence that is always with you. When you give it to God, you step into that strength. You stop seeing yourself as a small, separate being and start recognizing yourself as a divine expression of the Creator. As you walk through life with this new awareness, you begin to notice that things start to fall into place with more ease. Opportunities present themselves, challenges become easier to overcome, and your mind becomes clearer. You are no longer bogged down by the weight of worry and doubt. Instead, you move through life with a sense of calm and confidence, knowing that the divine is working on your behalf in ways you cannot always see. When you make the decision to stop worrying and give it to God, you are making a powerful declaration that you trust in the divine timing of your life. You are saying that you trust the universe to bring you what you need at the right time and in the perfect way. You are trusting that you are always in the right place at the right time, and that everything you need is already on its way. This is not a passive acceptance of your circumstances, but an active choice to trust in the divine order of things and to take inspired action from a place of peace and confidence. In this surrender, you find the peace that you've been searching for. It's not a peace that comes from controlling your circumstances, but a peace that comes from knowing that you are part of something much greater than yourself. You are part of a divine plan. And when you trust in that plan, you free yourself from the grip of worry. And as you walk this path, you will see that the worries you once held so tightly to will dissolve. And in their place will come a deep sense of peace, trust, and knowing that everything is always working out for your highest good. As you continue to surrender your worries, something remarkable begins to happen within you. You start to realize that the weight you've been carrying, the constant pressure of trying to control every outcome, was never yours to bear in the first place. The belief that everything depends on you is a heavy burden to carry, but when you let go and trust in something greater, you lighten your load. The very act of surrendering frees your heart and mind from the tight grip of fear and uncertainty. Go and claim the binding law of good health and wellness. You go to claim the great fear of illness. You claim the binding law of good health and uncertainty. All that surrounds you. Imagine for a moment that you are standing at the edge of a vast ocean. The waves are powerful and they are crashing against the shore. Each wave represents a worry, an anxiety, or a fear. For years you may have tried to control these waves, to predict when they would come and how strong they would be. You may have tried to stand against them, only to be knocked down time and time again. But now you realize that you don't have to fight the waves. You don't have to try and stop them. Instead, you can simply step back and allow the waves to move on their own. The ocean will continue to flow whether you resist or not. And so will your life. The more you fight against the waves of worry, the more exhausted you become. But when you choose to trust, when you choose to let go, the waves, they pass you by. And you remain standing firm, calm, and composed, knowing that you are supported by a force far greater than any challenge you face. This shift in perspective is not just about mental relief. It is a profound transformation in how you interact with life itself. When you stop worrying, you stop living in the future, and you stop letting the past control you. Worry is rooted in the fear of the unknown, the fear of things going wrong, of things not turning out as you hope. But when you give it to God, you release the need to control the outcome. You step into a space where the future is no longer a source of stress and the past no longer holds you back. You are fully present in this moment, and that's where the power lies. It's in the present that you find peace. When you stop worrying, you stop projecting into a future that doesn't yet exist, and you stop replaying past events that cannot be changed. The more you focus on the now, the more you recognize that everything you need is already available to you. All the resources, all the opportunities, all the solutions, they are here. In this moment, and by trusting in the divine flow, you allow yourself to be guided to them without resistance, without doubt, and without fear. Worry is the opposite of trust. When you worry, you create a mental block that prevents you from seeing the truth of your situation. Worry keeps you trapped in the illusion of lack, in the belief that something is missing, that something is wrong, that you are not enough. But when you let go of worry, you open yourself up to the reality of abundance, to the truth that you have everything you need right now, in this very moment. You may not always see it with your physical eyes, but when you trust in the divine, you begin to recognize that your true needs are always met in perfect timing. Letting go of worry is also an act of self-love. It is an acknowledgement that you deserve peace, that you are worthy of being free from anxiety and fear. When you carry the weight of worry, you are telling yourself that you do not trust your own worth, that you do not believe you are capable of handling what comes your way. But when you release that burden, you are telling yourself that you believe in your own strength, your own resilience, and your ability to navigate life's challenges with grace and ease. You are telling yourself that you are deserving of peace, of happiness, of fulfillment, and of divine guidance. This shift towards trust and peace opens the door to your highest potential. You begin to see opportunities where you once saw obstacles. You begin to act with clarity, purpose, and confidence, because you are no longer clouded by fear or doubt. Your decisions become inspired, aligned with the divine will, and you take each step knowing that you are walking in the right direction. When you trust, you take action without the constant questioning of whether you are making the right choice. You trust that the path is unfolding as it should, and that each decision is part of a larger divine plan. Trusting and surrendering to the divine doesn't mean that you never face challenges. Life will always present obstacles. But when you stop worrying, you face these challenges with a sense of calm and clarity. You no longer feel defeated by difficult situations because you know that they are simply part of the process. You know that every challenge is an opportunity for growth, an opportunity to strengthen your trust in the divine and in yourself. And when you do face challenges, you are better equipped to handle them because your mind is clear, your heart is open, and your faith is unwavering. Worry is the result of an underlying belief that you are not in control, and that can feel uncomfortable. But the truth is, you were never meant to control everything. Control is an illusion. You cannot control the weather, the actions of others, or the timing of events. But you can control how you respond to life. When you do this, you reclaim your power. You realize that the true source of strength is not in control, but in surrender. The divine is in control, and when you align yourself with that divine power, you become an unstoppable force. You become a vessel through which miracles can flow. Your mind is a powerful tool, and when you fill it with worry, you create a cycle of negativity and fear. For when you fill it with trust and faith, you open yourself up to the abundant possibilities that await you. Trust is the foundation upon which all things are built. It is the cornerstone of your success, your peace, and your happiness. The more you trust, the more you align with the divine flow, and the more you will see the world around you reflect that trust. As you continue to let go of worry and surrender to the divine, you will notice that your life begins to change in ways you could never have imagined. You will experience more peace, more joy, and more opportunities than you ever thought possible. And it will not come from your efforts, your hard work, or your struggle. It will come from your willingness to trust, to let go, and to align yourself with the divine plan. In every moment you have a choice, to worry or to trust. Worry keeps you locked in a mental prison, while trust opens the doors to freedom. When you choose trust, you are choosing to step into the flow of divine abundance, to release the need for control, and to embrace the peace that comes from knowing that everything is always working out for your highest good. And as you continue to trust, you will find that worry no longer has a place in your life. It will fall away, and in its place will come a deep, abiding peace, a sense of clarity and purpose, and the unwavering knowledge that you are always supported by the divine. When you stop worrying, you not only transform your present moment, but also create the foundation for a future filled with peace and fulfillment. Worry is an unconscious way of resisting what is, and it distracts you from the present. It takes you out of the flow of life, filling your mind with endless concerns about what might go wrong. This is a distortion of your true nature. You are not meant to live in a constant state of fear or anxiety. You are meant to live in alignment with the divine, fully trusting that whatever unfolds is part of a greater plan. The more you trust, the more you connect to the abundance of the universe. The universe is constantly supporting you, always aligning with your highest good. But when you worry, you resist that support. Worry is a way of saying, I don't believe that things are working out for me. But when you release that worry, when you stop trying to control every detail, you open up space for the divine to step in. You allow things to unfold naturally, without forcing, without stressing, and without the constant pressure of trying to make everything fit into your desired timeline. Your worries are a reflection of your attachment to a particular outcome. When you give it to God, you let go of the need to dictate the course of events. You trust that you are exactly where you are supposed to be, and everything is happening for your growth and benefit. One of the most profound shifts you will experience when you stop worrying is the deep sense of freedom that comes with letting go of control. The desire to control is rooted in the belief that if you don't, things will go wrong. You believe that your involvement is necessary to ensure a positive outcome. But this belief is limiting. It keeps you trapped in a cycle of stress and dissatisfaction. When you surrender control, you let go of the anxiety that comes with trying to control the uncontrollable. You release the need to micromanage every situation. You acknowledge that life has its own rhythm, and sometimes the best thing you can do is to trust that rhythm and follow where it leads. This shift from worry to trust allows you to begin seeing life through a different lens. Instead of perceiving challenges as threats, you start to see them as opportunities for growth and transformation. Every challenge becomes a chance to practice trust, to remind yourself that you are not alone, that divine support is always with you. You no longer fear the unknown because you know that it is within the unknown where miracles happen. And you trust that even in moments of uncertainty, everything is working out for your highest good. The more you practice surrendering your worries, the more you align with your higher self. You become more connected to the divine wisdom that resides within you. Your intuition becomes clearer, and you begin to feel guided in every decision you make. There is a flow to life, and when you stop resisting it, you begin to move with that flow instead of against it. When you trust in the divine plan, you no longer need to force or control situations. You allow them to unfold naturally, knowing that everything will happen at the right time and in the right way. One of the most powerful aspects of releasing worry is that it opens you up to receive. When you are consumed by worry, you block yourself from the abundance that is already present in your life. You are so focused on what might go wrong that you miss the opportunities, the gifts, and the blessings that are right in front of you. You become open to receiving not just the material things you may desire, but the intangible gifts as well. peace, love, joy, and the confidence that you are always supported. Trust is the bridge between the physical and the spiritual. It is the force that connects you to the divine source. When you trust, you are acknowledging that you are a part of something far greater than yourself. You no longer feel isolated or alone. You understand that you are always held, always guided, and always loved. But when you surrender, you remember that you are not alone. You are deeply connected to the infinite wisdom and love that governs the universe. Worry keeps you in a state of disconnection. It is a form of resistance to the flow of life. The more you worry, the more you separate yourself from the divine plan. But when you let go, you release that resistance and you align with the flow of life. You begin to experience the peace that comes from being in harmony with the universe. You understand that you do not need to fight against life. Life is not an enemy. Life is your partner, working with you to bring you closer to your dreams, to your highest potential. The more you trust, the more your life becomes an expression of divine will. You begin to attract the right people, the right opportunities, and the right circumstances. Things that once seemed impossible begin to unfold with ease. Doors that were once closed open effortlessly, and you realize that you were never meant to struggle. Struggle is a result of resistance. When you stop resisting, life flows effortlessly, and the divine gifts you with what you need at every moment. It's not that life is suddenly perfect or free from challenges, but rather that you face those challenges with peace and confidence. You no longer feel overwhelmed because you know that you are being supported every step of the way. Surrendering to God and letting go of worry does not mean that you no longer take action or that you abandon responsibility. It means that you act from a place of trust and faith. You take inspired action not out of fear or urgency, but from a place of alignment. You do not feel rushed or pressured. You know that your actions are in harmony with the greater plan, and you trust that you are moving in the right direction. You come from within with the optimism of a prophet, and suddenly the world becomes Thomas. You begin to feel more in tune with your own inner guidance, and you trust it more deeply. Your intuition becomes clearer as you stop filling your mind with the noise of worry. Instead of second-guessing yourself, you trust the feelings and impressions that arise within you. These inner nudges are the divine whispers guiding you toward your highest. You know that by trusting yourself and the divine plan, you are always on the right path, even if that path doesn't always look the way you imagined. The practice of letting go of worry is one of the most liberating things you can do for yourself. It is a practice of trust, faith, and alignment. The more you do it, the more you experience the peace that comes from knowing that everything is working out for you. Worry keeps you in a state of tension, fear, and resistance. But trust opens you up to the flow of life. It is through trust that you step into your true power, and it is through trust that you align with your divine purpose. As you continue on this journey of letting go of worry and trusting in the divine, you will begin to see profound changes in your life. The challenges that once seemed overwhelming will no longer have the same power over you. You will face them with a sense of calm and confidence, knowing that you are supported and guided every step of the way. You will become more attuned to the flow of life, more in tune with your inner wisdom, and more at peace with. And as you let go of worry, you will realize that everything you need is already here. The divine is always at work in your life, and when you stop resisting, you open yourself up to the endless possibilities that await you. Letting go of worry and giving it to God is not merely an act of surrender, but a powerful choice to align yourself with the divine flow of life. By trusting in the greater plan, you release the burdens of fear and control, allowing peace to take root within your heart. The universe is always supporting you, and as you stop resisting, you open the doors to endless possibilities and blessings. It's mine. You are not alone in your struggles. Divine guidance is always available, and with trust, your path becomes clear and filled with abundant opportunities. When you choose trust over worry, you unlock the peace and power that reside within you, and you step confidently into the life you are meant to live.